Thru the Ringer. I'm your host, Tate Frazier. We're in studio in Los Angeles, and Cousin Sal is here. That's right.
I like how you say welcome back, but really the research came back that everybody who watches is a first-time and only time
First-time viewers.
Yeah, and then they go away. So it shouldn't be welcome back.
So I should say welcome for the first time.
Yeah,
every
for the
single
first time. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm Tate Frazier. You've never seen me before.
You've never seen me,
great?
and I hope you stick around. Like those other guys who left us because they didn't buy into the vision, because we got a lot of things to get to.
Right.
Championship Sunday, Sal. A great championship
I can't
Sunday.
wait. Oh,
we just saw it on
shoot.
Sunday.
All right.
What were your thoughts, just generally speaking? You were
Well, we
fired
got
up.
one terrible game and one great game, which we had hoped would be great in Buffalo.
But
and
history
Kansas
in the
City.
first game, at least. History, 55
There was?
points. Yeah, 55
Oh, there's a lot of points.
Yeah, a lot of
they
points.
loaded it up at the end. And it's very sad. There's one left.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to have to talk
One
about
game.
for 6 weeks when they start it.
Oh,
kick it
my
off.
gosh. I mean, we're going to wait and see if we can actually get any picks out of you, Sal, because we're so far away from the Super
could
Bowl.
try.
We can try. We'll see what happens. Let's start with first take before we get to my favorite game. Again,
All right.
this is for your first time, first take here.
Yeah.
I say to you, all of the segments after Sunday, they were asking this question, and it made me say to myself, Patrick Mahomes is the Michael Jordan of the NFL, Sal. I've just come to that conclusion all on my own. That's
Is that what
I
we're
see.
being told?
Yes.
If Stephen A. shouts it loud enough, then I think we have to agree eventually. Something bad will happen. Let's see. Multiple titles, right?
Okay.
Takes over games on his own.
Right.
Refs on his side. I know that's a big thing everybody likes. Makes everyone around him better. And has a crippling gambling addiction. It's Keno. It's not really out there yet. He doesn't want people to know. But
You just get ahead of it, yeah.
They are about the same. I guess his flu game hasn't come yet. That's the only thing. Every week he plays with a high ankle sprain, so I don't know if that counts. But maybe that's his flu game.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
And Jordan had an injury earlier in his career. Patrick Mahomes, the best start of his career that you could imagine. This was, quote unquote, his most efficient playoff game.
I saw that.
Which is crazy to say at this point. But he continues to get better. They asked on First Take, this is the reason why we got here, is he the LeBron of the NFL or the Michael Jordan of the NFL? And this kind of falls in the category of Bryce Young being the Steph Curry of football. I don't know why we have to do this, Sal, but I'm going to go with Michael Jordan.
You're going with Michael Jordan. We have to do it because there's 2 freaking weeks between games.
Yeah.
That's why we have to
We have to make up all this sort of stuff. Next First Take for you, Sal. Josh Allen, I think he gets that first down if this game is in Buffalo. Fourth quarter, going for it on fourth down. It's tough to see the spot. No exact science in the NFL, which a lot of people are pointing out at this point, but I think he gets that in Buffalo, does not get that on the road in Kansas City. How do you feel about that?
You think he gets the call? Or
I think
you
he gets the first down. He gets the first down.
Why? Does it go downhill? Is there a slope at Orchard Park or something?
I just think whoever they call in says, give it to Josh Allen.
I don't know, man. I wish people wouldn't make too much of a big deal out of this. I know we have to discuss it, and we should. We did discuss Mahomes' greatness. That's good. We led with that, and now it's like the referees suck. But it is weird with 2 70-year-olds running at each other, and we have to hope that they have the exact same spotting of the ball, and they don't. And then we have to hope that their compromise is somewhat, that jives with the replay. So it's very weird. They could change that. But again, I don't want to blame that on the game. He needed to make 2-point conversions. Mahomes did? He didn't.
Is it part of the game, too, the inexact science of it all, the fact that we don't know where the spot actually is, and it kind of leans on the human side of things?
It doesn't have to be, but I guess,
Okay.
if you like humans, I mean, humans are terrible lately, right?
I like I don't like AI. I like intelligence.
Oh, interesting.
So, I'm going to go old school here.
Get the T-shirt
I'm going
ready.
to say it's part of the human experience. Last First Take, Sal. I saved the best for last on the Ringer Sunday pregame show. I was 0%er.
Well, I don't want to.
But I got 100% this Sunday.
That's right.
Eagles and Chiefs.
Yeah.
I made those picks. They were actually right for once. I was trying to will something into existence, speak something into existence, whatever you want to call it. It didn't quite happen, but I got a win.
I love it. You went on there like a man, Ringer pregame show this past Sunday. You went 2-0, like you said. Our producer, Jack Wilson, didn't want you on the show. They said that kid's a mush.
It was supposed to be Bill Simmons, right? I was basically a stand-in.
Yeah, your pets are more agreeable when it comes to not vomiting and diarrheaing on the rug, so you got the call.
The bowel movements were great.
I'm glad they gave you a chance. People were worried. They're like, he's going to talk about how Georgetown should be a 5 seed. I'm like, no, give him one more opportunity.
Please.
2-0, baby. You turned it around. And by the way, you have not lost a single bet since I presented you with that gift.
Yes.
You have not lost a single NFL pick since I gave you that porcelain.
And she was the one that led me in the
doll.
right direction. She's in the car currently. If you didn't see last week.
It's a doll, by the way.
It's a doll.
Before people,
yes.
you're saying she, like I gave you one.
Which leads me to my gift
What
for
is
you.
this?
This was obviously getting more value by the week.
Oh.
Inner excellence. AJ
wow.
Brown obviously was reading this book on the sideline, but
Yeah.
I feel like we need some inner excellence, Sal.
I would love this, and I'm going to read this because, like I said, we have 2 weeks off, and
Yeah,
to try
you got a lot
to
of
figure out,
time.
will this tell me if A.J. Brown is going to have over or under 73.5 receiving yards?
I think if you read that book and you grow and get better as a person, you take A.J. Brown Super Bowl MVP odds. I don't know
Awesome.
what they are, but I think you do
You
it.
know what? This is going to look great on my housekeeper's bookshelf at home. I love it. Thank you.
It's going to be good.
Appreciate
Inner excellence. We're even with our gifts.
Yeah.
Just 2 great gifts that we're going to use all the time, of course. Let's play my favorite game. Let's do some over-under reactions. And let's start with the guy who was a superstar on Sunday, Sal. I say to you, Saquon Barkley has had the greatest season by a running back in NFL history. Over or under reaction?
All right, I'm going to say for now, I could change this, but for now I'm going to say it's an overreaction. You sent me down a rabbit hole here as I was looking at these running backs, and I think the only other 2 that compare, I have a weird criteria now. I kind of think they should have won Super Bowl MVP. So you got Emmett, you got Terrell Davis, backed by great years. Emmett won his regular season MVP and had a great, obviously, regular season and Super Bowl MVP. So I would give it to Emmett right now, but Barkley with his insane stats could pass Emmett, I think.
And the game was over 18 seconds into the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that run by Barkley, I mean, obviously there was a lot of things that had to play out afterwards, but it did feel like...
Well, Washington had the ball first.
Well, Washington goes down. They have a 7-minute drive. It feels like, wow, this is kind of the game that Washington
Kick a
wants to
field
play.
goal. Yep.
The Eagles get the football 18 seconds later.
Gotcha. Yep.
Saquon scores a touchdown.
Amazing touchdown.
Yeah.
Too. One of the best we've seen.
Incredible stuff. So good that Brady was saying he's in the Hall of Fame already.
Yeah.
Was already making claims about it. So congratulations to Saquon. Next up, Sal, keeping it in Philly, we say this: the NFL shouldn't outlaw the tush push / the brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it, over under reaction.
Shouldn't. So I have to say I'm going to say overreaction.
Yeah, there you go.
Listen, I think this it combines great potential for injury and the slightest bit of sexual harassment, which I feel like there are 2 things the NFL normally stays away from. Why wasn't we figured out that this was made legal in 2006? Before that, it wasn't. And then they shift to all safe-centric rules, and yet they're like, yeah, have the 20 guys bang heads while somebody pushes from behind. It doesn't make sense to me.
And Frankie Louvu became famous this past weekend.
Love
kept
it.
Jumping over, trying to time the snap so that he could hit Jalen Hurts at the proper time. It did not work out,
He got
but it
scolded.
also right. It led us to
referees
the
pull out a ruler and just smacked him on the head.
Well, they let us know, Sal, that they could actually award points, which I think a lot of people at home were like, wait a second, the refs can just give away points. And the Chiefs were saying, yeah, of course, if you watched our games.
Look at this. Look at you.
Come on. So it's pretty good. Shout out to the official. Shout out to the brotherly shove. We're going to see it again in the Super Bowl, Sal. Next up, talking about the Buffalo Bills. No team in the 4 major sports has suffered more heartbreak than the Buffalo Bills. Over or under reaction?
I'm going to say slight overreaction because I'll take the Cleveland Browns and their fan base. I think they've suffered more heartbreak, but there are a couple of ways to look at it, right? So like in big games, yes, the Bills, probably no one worse. We saw obviously the kick, Norwood's kick, and we've seen him lose now, Josh Allen to Mahomes a bunch of times. Thurman Thomas can't find his helmet, all that stuff. But they win 10 to 13 games for the better part of 2 decades now.
And have an all-time quarterback.
Yeah,
Right.
so that part is good.
Not Deshaun Watson.
Right. The Browns have Deshaun Watson, who they're going to be paying for the next half a decade, if not more, plus the jokes that go along with it. They have a poor record. They've had 9 coaches in 20 years. I think Browns fans have it slightly over Bills fans.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And Josh Allen will get back, but if you are a Bills fan, seeing 0 and 4 next to each other based on the Super Bowls and based on the Pat Mahomes head-to-head with Josh Allen, you're going to avoid those numbers. Man. So tough stuff there. Next up, Andy Reid, Sal, will break Don Shula's coaching record, the regular season record, the wins record all time. Shula's at 328. Andy Reid right now at 273. Over under reaction, 55 away.
I didn't know. Can I do some math? Yeah, I want to do some math here. I want to figure it out here. Okay,
remember, we got an extra game now. So,
right.
Yeah,
that's true. All right, 328 minus 270. Do you have a calculator on your phone? Mine's like in the first page of icons. It's nice.
Yeah, I moved mine to the back.
So it's 55 he needs, right?
Right. Yep.
And so let's say he gets 11 a year, right? Because maybe that division becomes more competitive. Okay, so that means it takes 5 years to tie And how many calories would you say baby back ribs are?
Okay.
He's going through 30, okay, and he's what, 70, he's 66?
66, yeah, mid-60s, okay.
Nope, he's not doing it. He falls 3 short.
You think he's 3 short?
Yeah, I don't think my magic machine here does. Yeah, he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Overreaction.
Cousin Sal's calculator says it's not going to happen. Don Schuler, the
What do you
record.
think? He gets there?
I think he gets over 300, and then that's enough. Maybe he gets past Belichick. Belichick's at 302.
300 pounds?
300 wins.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He gets past that number, and he gets past Bill Belichick, maybe 305, and he says,
Yeah.
c'est la vie.
Yeah, because what is the point, right? Like Belichick's always going to have more Super Bowls, right? Unless he just goes on an insane run here.
Which could happen.
Could happen. All right.
We're trending
What do
that
I
way,
know?
Sal. Which leads us to our next one. The Cincinnati Bengals would have won the AFC title had they made the playoffs, Sal. Over or under reaction.
I'm laughing. Overreaction. Hold on. So they would have gone to the Bills. They would have
Yes.
won that game. And then they would have reseeded. They would have had to go to KC. They would have won that game.
Yes.
Underdog. And then probably Baltimore would have survived. They would have had to gone there and win. No, I'm sorry. Anarumo's defense. By the way, that guy was fired. He didn't go, he didn't go 3 minutes without allowing 500 yards, let alone 3 games. So I don't think it's the case. What about you?
I do think it is funny that we have a pecking order right at the quarterbacks now where it is like a Mahomes is over Allen is over Jackson, but then there is the Joe Burrow of it all where it's like Joe Burrow seems to be the only one that can beat Mahomes.
Right.
Has proven he can beat Mahomes, so he's technically in 4th, but really he's got this weird thing where he's the only one that can beat number 1.
Yeah,
so.
I don't want to question his greatness, but there is a little bit of scapegoating going on with him, that he remains in everybody's top 4.
Right.
And like you said,
he blames everybody. It's everybody else's fault.
Yeah, and he's going to
right.
win comeback player of the year and all that. So good job by you, Joe Burrow.
Good
You're
job, Joe. Cool Joe, making things happen. Next up, Sal, I say this year's Super Bowl will be Travis Kelce's last game. Over or under reaction?
I think overreaction. What do you? I don't know. It doesn't seem like she wants to stop touring. I think it all kind of depends on that, right? When is Taylor going to slow down? When I say she, I mean Taylor, right?
I think he loses value. Yes, right.
Yes.
I think he loses value as a personality, and the podcast loses cachet without him actually playing.
Right.
Jason already retired. I think one of them's got to stay in the game. I think
Yeah.
at least one more year.
Once he didn't get a cabinet position, I was thinking, yeah, he's got to stay in football.
He's got to stay, and they like to stay relevant, so it's all good. Next up, Sal, Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady. The worst call last weekend, his worst call last weekend was not taking the Saints head coaching job.
Wow.
Over under reaction.
Okay. You know what? I think I'll say overreaction because I think he can have his cake and eat it too. He still had the bad calls on the 4th and 1s and the 2-point conversions and what have you, and he could still end up coaching the Saints. So it might work.
Right.
It might work anyway. Good luck, by the way, on those 4th and 1s with Derek Carr. That's a different beast now. You have to figure that out if he does it. But these coordinators almost always have a bad game before they move on, right? Like Shane Steichen had questionable calls. Dan Quinn,
right.
with the Cowboys.
Ben Johnson, we just saw. Aaron Glenn,
Right.
we just saw. Right. These guys, I mean, it's kind of like, which has led people to say, can we push these back so this doesn't happen? But tampering's going to happen regardless. So, Joe Brady, take the job. They love you down there in NOLA. Next up, Sal, the AFC West has the most decorated collection of head coaches in NFL history. Over or under
do it.
reaction?
What is it? Who's there now?
Got Pete Carroll, Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton.
Pretty damn good.
A lot of championships.
Yeah, a lot of
wins.
So I'm going to say underreaction. I mean, I like the Dennis Allen, Todd Bowles, Canales, Raheem No, I don't know. It wasn't. I'm going to say the only thing that stacks up is I think right in the early 80s, and these 3 teams weren't all good at that time, but Landry, Gibbs, and Vermeil, I think right around 1982. Actually, they were all good. They all competed. So
yeah, Landry's top 5 all time when it comes to wins in the NFL as well. So he's right
Those
behind.
are Hall of Famers, too.
Yeah,
but the
all
ones
Hall of
you
Famers.
mentioned were spectacular.
All spectacular coaches. Next up, Sal, bets between the mayors of Super Bowl cities should have real consequences.
Yes,
over or under reaction?
Underreaction.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. It's nonsense. The
too
Kansas
nice.
City mayor, like, if we lose, we're going to send you Bruce's brisket. And Bruce doesn't care. Bruce isn't going to charge the mayor because Bruce wants his name out there. So he's going to ship that for free. Right, it's free advertising. So it's no skin off the mayor's back at all. Like, we're sending you calories and you get to eat. A real consequence would be, all right, the loser, the power shuts off in the city for 2 days.
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be freaking out in the 4th quarter?
And you share some of that energy with us. You give it, pass it along.
Whatever, yeah. So no trash pickup for a month. That would be good
Yeah.
for the loser. I think that's what it should be, not frickin' barbecue and brisket.
I think the commercial right after the game ends with the winner and the T-shirts, those terrible T-shirts that are for sale, and you're like, who's buying these, AFC Championship shirts? I think the mayor should have to buy a shirt for everybody in the city of the team that just beat
I like
them.
that.
So everybody has to
or
wear
the
shirt.
mayor has to personally go to Rwanda and hand out the T-shirts to the kids who don't know different. That it says, Chiefs champions after they lost.
Some diplomacy
We
there
have some.
as well.
I think we really broke through here.
Yeah, that would
really
be good.
ideas.
Next up, Sal, this is a Bill Simmons special. Stephen Curry will eventually get traded to the Charlotte Hornets, which is why I wore my Hornets jacket today. Over under reaction.
Yeah.
Sal.
So on Guess the Lines this past Sunday, I'm signing off, and he asked me what am I going to be doing this week, and I announced as one of the things I'm on Thru the Ringer with Tate, and about 40 seconds later he's like, "Hey, will you be on with Tate at all this week?" I was like, "Yeah, thanks for listening, boss. Glad you're paying attention." He's like, "My dog has diarrhea. I can't eat." So anyway, he wanted me to ask you and prepare you for Steph Curry for LaMelo Ball. Would you do it? Are you excited for it? Or is this nonsense?
It is definitely nonsense, but I do like it, and I am a fan of it, and I do think Bill and I have talked about this before. Yeah. I even went on the trade machine. I figured it out, Sal. If you trade the Warriors, LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, and the Warriors' second-round pick in 2026, you keeping up? Because the Hornets now own their 2026 second-round pick. If you trade those three things to the Warriors, you could get Stephen Curry, Moses Moody, and Guy Santos.
Guy Santos, too?
Guy Santos. That's how you make the money work, folks. So if he's ready, I'm ready. The Hornets are ready.
I didn't know about Guy Santos.
Seth Curry, Steph Curry, Del Curry.
There's a lot of Curry.
We'll bring them all. Yeah, we want all the Currys.
All right, good. I hope that happens.
Yeah, me too. I'm glad that's...
Listen, are you watching, Bill? Oh, no, there's no way he's watching.
He's looking up Guy Santos' contract right now, making sure that the numbers match up. Next up, Sal, let's talk about the Mets, near and dear to your heart. I say to you, the Mets will be negotiating with Pete Alonso at the All-Star break. Over underreaction.
I think underreaction at this point. It might be, I don't know. I feel bad for Pete. I love the polar bear, but this Scott Boras is not a very giving guy. When the owner comes out and says, this has been an exhausting process, maybe you're not going to get your deal there. And the fact that he wants to be paid more if he opts out of his last year, I don't know what year this is, but this is really insanity what we've come down to here.
I think you just put on your Soto jersey and you say it's a new era. We're moving on. There you go. Next up, Kansas over Houston last weekend was college basketball's bet ache of the year. Rock Chalk Jayhawks up 6 points at the free throw line with their point guard. He misses both, and the rest.
I know. I had it, Tate. Plus, in regulation, they were up 2. Whatever. This happens all the time. They're up 2 with a few seconds left, and Houston tied it. And then, like you said, in the first overtime, up 6, 8 seconds left, missed the free throw, 3-pointer, turnover, another 3. At that point, you have to bet Houston in double overtime. Right?
Absolutely.
There's no way Kansas is going to come back.
And there was multiple people that had tweeted like Rock Chalk, as they were up 6 points, as DeJuan Harris is going to the free throw line. And that is why it's a bet
screwed by Cougars more than Ashton Kutcher or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something there.
people were saying a lot. Last one, Sal will have over 5.5 bowls of gumbo in New Orleans next week at the Super Bowl. I'm going to go over with this one, Sal.
God willing, you're right. And this is an underreaction. We land Tuesday afternoon. I'll probably grab 2 bowls at the airport waiting for my luggage to come out.
Right.
And then, on the way back in the airport, I'll probably grab 2 more. So I have to get 2.
That's 4.
Between that, me and Joe House, who's down on his luck and drowning his sorrows in gumbo, I think I can do it.
I think you can do it. I think this is perfect. And House Eats, there's rumors circulating that could be happening again. We'll see what happens.
We're gonna do some. We're gonna figure something out. Okay. I don't know if it's recovered yet.
We'll see what happens. If you're down in New Orleans, find these guys.
Yeah, what Bill's dog did to his house, not nearly as bad as what we did to that poor dude.
Oh, man. And on that note, let's call up the Riverboat captain because he's got a question for us, Sal, and it's a big question, and it's about your Dallas Cowboys. He said, which Bryan would the Cowboys have been better off hiring as their next head coach? We have the odds right now. Of course, Brian Schottenheimer is the head coach of the Cowboys, just got announced and just had his press conference. We got the odds here. Brian Flores, 3-1. Brian Cox 10-1. Bryan Curtis of The Ringer 15-1. Brian the dog from Family Guy, not the dog that has the bowel movement issues, but the very sarcastic dog. 250 to 1.
Yeah.
Field even odds. What say you, Sal?
Curtis is coming on, right?
Yeah, he is.
Is he going to get upset if I don't say that? The whole point of this is when now he's like he's a career coordinator or something, but he's not Brian anymore.
Right.
It's like what? What is this old maniac talking about? All right, so we have to pick a Brian. There's some good ones: Scalabrini, Boitano, Austin Green. But I am going to go off the board. I'm going to go Field, and I am going to say Bryan Cranston. As Heisenberg.
Okay.
We need a very intimidating coach. You understand?
Yeah.
We need a chemistry teacher, cook up some Cowboys blue meth and sell it if things go awry. Maybe blow up the scoreboard.
Yeah.
If things are,
this is good.
For like 6-10 or something. So get Aaron Paul to run the special teams.
Right.
I like it. I'm going Cranston.
Best TV show of the century, many would say. You also have a situation where Jerry can talk to Cranston about some of his acting opportunities. There's a little bit of a handshake.
Listen,
deal
I don't
here.
know football anymore, or never really did. So I'm going to bring on some of my active friends.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston, I like that. I'm going to take Brother Bry of Against All Odds fame.
Yeah.
He's one of the smartest people I know, one of the sharpest people I know, and I think he would do a better job than Brian Schottenheimer.
Oh, man. He's one of the sharpest people you know?
One of the sharpest people I know.
I have a book for you.
Yeah. Inner Excellence. We're going to read this.
Yeah, try to get in there.
Yeah, we got 2 weeks to get this broken down. We're going to be right back after the break with Cousin Sal. We got some Track to the Futures and some line look aheads. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're here in studio with Cousin Sal. And Sal...
now welcome back makes sense because you assume they saw the first segment.
Well, you would hope. Maybe they just came back in and they're confused as well.
Welcome or welcome back.
Welcome back or welcome, whatever you want to do. But we're here and we got Super Bowl 59, Sal, which is crazy. Super Bowl 50 feels like a couple years ago to me. So we're moving fast in time. But we're not going to get in the weeds of the Super Bowl matchup.
You're old, Tate. I keep telling you, you're freaking old.
It's happening. This matchup, obviously some people have rolled their eyes. Some people said, seen this before. Obviously, we saw it 2 years ago. But just generally speaking, your thoughts on this matchup between these two teams.
I'm going to try to roll my eyes and say seen this before, right? Seen this before. Did that work? Did that come across?
Good.
Like
Yeah, that's good.
It's 1.5. I guess that it would be 1.5 because it's a big practical joke that FanDuel and Vegas and everybody are making all these lines 1.5 and then saying have at it, and then it flip-flops from the favorite 1.5 to underdog 1.5, and you, all of a sudden you're so dizzy you forgot everything you ever knew about gambling. But I think in this case they have to make the Chiefs a favorite. They're going for the three-peat. The Chiefs were disrespected last year when they played in the Super Bowl. They were an underdog to the 49ers. They were a big underdog to the Ravens in the championship game. So I think this is right. Andy Reid at it again. You okay with 1.5? Because if you're not, I can maybe have them change it.
Well, I would like you to call somebody. I'm not okay with this.
Okay.
Bill's been talking about this all year, the 1.5, and then at the end to guess the lines, it came back to bite him because the line, there
was only one way to guess.
There was only one way to go with the 1.5, so it does feel fitting. The line 49.5 is what's interesting to me. Last time they played 38-35. It does feel like this game won't be as high scoring, but I, just watched 55 points be scored by the Eagles, and I just watched the Chiefs score 32 with pretty much ease, so I do like the over in this game.
It is tough because normally with a running team like the Eagles, you would take more unders, but when they have so many explosive plays, right, whether it's Hurts, whether it's Barkley, there's going to be a 25-yard touchdown in there.
15 carries for Barkley and 3 touchdowns, and it just felt like he could have had 30 carries and, had over 200 yards. So, they didn't really unleash the full version of Barkley. Granted, they didn't need it. Let's do a line look ahead. Let's look at Super Bowl MVP, Sal. We got the odds here. Mahomes, of course, as you'd expect, is the favorite at plus 110. Barkley right behind him at plus 280. Just, we're not making pick picks here, but just generally as you look at these odds.
We're not making pick picks?
No, we're not making pick picks.
Okay. Yeah, so let's take the top 4. Mahomes plus 110, Barkley 280, Hurts plus 370, Kelsey up to 18-1. It was 17-1. And so what you want to look at is it worth taking the player versus the team, right? So if you get Mahomes at plus 110, but you'd have to take the Chiefs and lay minus 120, it's a good bet unless Kelsey comes up from the top, over the top and gets. So I would take Mahomes before the Chiefs, but sprinkle a little on Kelsey just so you don't get screwed. The Eagles, it doesn't pay. The plus 280, plus 370, you might as well take them plus the 1.5 or the odds.
Yeah, right. It doesn't really check out. It's not really the value that you would want for those guys. Is it worth, like, I try to think about the narratives, like, right, when LeBron lost in 2015, Andre Iguodala wins Finals MVP because of the idea that he stopped LeBron, even though LeBron was incredible. But is there any world in which where, you know, Pat Mahomes has a bad game, the Eagles D-line dominates, and they look around and say, well, I guess Jalen Carter is the reason why that happened. He's the MVP of this game. Like, is there a world where there's something weird like that could happen?
No, yes, yeah, there is. But what's interesting is you can live bet the MVP throughout the game. And like last year or a couple of years ago, it was who's the guy who drops every Tony. Darius Tony had like a really good game. Like, oh my God, this guy's going to win MVP. But Mahomes was still such a big favorite. I'm like, they just know. They know who they're giving it to. And
it is like a bit of, you know, if you're looking at the Chiefs, it's hard not to give it to Mahomes. Unless he has an atrocious game and the defense is the reason why they win the game. But
anything less than 3 interceptions, he's getting it.
Probably not going to happen. So I like that number. At least you get a plus number there.
I will say this real quick. I know we're pressed for time. Barkley's birthday, Super Bowl Sunday, 28. Is the fix in? You get like, is it like... you know, like Applebee's, you get here's an MVP, here's free shrimp cocktail.
We did say this like late in the season, like I think week 15, week 16, where we're like, if we look back at this in 5 years, are we going to say we're idiots? Saquon was the MVP and obviously the star of the season, and it kind of was the Saquon
For other reasons, we're idiots, but maybe not that one.
Maybe not that one. We'll see. Let's do another line look ahead. We got FanDuel. If you go to FanDuel Sportsbook, you can see the Super Bowl specials. Sal, you like one special in particular for the big game.
I do. I like a bunch, but I'm going to give you one. All right. Kelsey, 25 or more receiving yards in each half, plus 170. Now, I did this a couple weeks ago when they played Houston. He smashed it, right? It was easy, sleazy. Then I went on this rant about how Kelsey is a different beast in the playoffs, different Kelsey. It's like a third Kelsey brother, and he did nothing last Sunday. He was invisible. I think he and Taylor left at halftime to hit a happy hour at Fuddruckers or something. But I think he's going to be back. Super Bowl numbers against the Eagles, 6 for 67. Ertz went for 104 against Philadelphia in a losing effort last week. So I expect the same from Kelsey next Sunday. Split the 25 in each half, plus 170.
I like that. And I do think Kelsey's going to get the targets, and that is part of the storyline there with that team in general. I'm going to take any defensive player to return an interception for a touchdown at plus 600. Maybe not the best value there, but I do feel like that's going to happen. I don't know why. It's just maybe it's Jalen Hurts. Maybe it's like a wide receiver pass play or whatever it is, and something goes awry. But
it's one of the more exciting bets when the guy actually does corral the ball, and now he has to run, and you're looking, look at this, 6-1 if he just breaks 2 oh my God, he's there, and then he gets tackled at the
Von Miller was a perfect example against the Ravens. As he was running, I had a friend who had a defensive touchdown for the Bills, and it looked like, of course, clear as day. Von Miller hasn't ran this fast since he ran his 40 time, and
then
when
Washington did it against Goff,
right.
You collected there.
There you go. So let's track to the future. This is not going to be Super Bowl related. This is going to be hockey related. A lot of people on this show say we don't talk about the NHL, but here we are talking about it. So let's track to the future. We're talking Ovechkin, Alex Ovechkin, if you don't know, to score his 895th career goal during the 2024-25 regular season. Currently, he is at 875. Yes is plus 270. No minus 380, Sal. Do you believe in Ovi? Do you think he can get it done? Oh, you got to pull the calculator out. Oh, my goodness. Do you have
I need help with this, even beyond the calculator. Help me out. He has 5 goals in 11 January games, right? He's got 22 in 33 games, and he needs 20 in 33 games. He has 20. He already has 22 in 33. He needs 20 in the remaining 33. So it's something he's already done, and he's plus 270. Yes, I'm going yes. What, are they going to sit him? Does he not see fastballs down the middle? Like, I don't understand what
I like the plus
different.
Number. At plus 270, I feel like why not? And Mikey Meatballs back there told me a couple weeks ago that this was going to happen. So and he knows NHL hockey. He's watching.
I think we got to jump on it now because that's going to, if he racks up a few goals here, that's going to work against us.
One last thing, just talking about Ovechkin, 39 years old. Every time you hear anything about the NBA, it's about LeBron being 30. He just turned 40, but before that, 39 years old. How incredible. I haven't heard anybody say that about Ovechkin.
It's true.
Why aren't we talking
You're
about
right.
that, Sal?
Come on, Stephen A. Wake up.
Look what's right in front of you on the ice. It's Alex Ovechkin. It's so much fun. Let's do a line look ahead here. College hoops play of the day. These are games that are going to be on Wednesday. Last week, Sal, you took a big swing. You went for Miami.
Worst team in the
terrible.
Big conference.
But I like where your head was at.
Awful.
You went for the Hurricanes. I took Calipari to win his first SEC game. He did.
Okay.
Georgia.
This is how it should be. You should win. I should lose.
I know.
Yeah.
So we're 1-1 each. Right. But who do you like this week, Sal?
I'm going to go Wisconsin plus 3.5 over Maryland. Badgers are 12-8 against the number. Maryland's under 500 versus the spread this year. John Tonje, 18 points a game, puts up 5 rebounds. He killed me with a 3-pointer at the buzzer against UCLA. They didn't win, but they covered. Anyway, Maryland, I know, has won 5 of the last 6. I took them last week plus the points to beat up on Illinois. They did. Derek Queen's fun, but I'm going Badgers back on track after that LA trip. John Blackwell's good. I think the 3-ball falls. And Wisconsin 8-2 against the spread and 8-2 overall in the last 10. They're going to win this game.
Yeah, John Blackwell is one of those guys where we get into March Madness, people are going to be like, who's this guy for Wisconsin? But he's going to be first team All Big Ten. He's been great for them, so I like that pick. Maryland riding a high. They just won 2 road games.
Right.
Maybe they get a little bit fat and happy, or as Tom Izzo said, fat and sassy, and they lose that game.
What do you got? What do you want?
I'm going to go with Loyola Chicago, Sister Jean, the Fighting Sister Jeans over George Mason, the Patriots. I think Loyola's been playing some good basketball. Should have beaten Dayton a couple nights ago, so I think they're trending in the right direction. George Mason favored at home. You asked me the line. I was way off, so I thought the Loyola might be
you're
favored.
getting 7.5 points, and I think you're right. There's some good karma going Sister Jean's way since she was pardoned for her January 6th atrocities.
Right,
Yeah.
She's back out. She's loud. She's
her.
proud. She's having fun. Sal, been fun. A lot of good picks this week. Where can we find all your amazing work, and then we'll let you go.
Oh, Against All Odds twice a week on the Ringer Podcast Network. I have Cousin Sal's winning weekend on Friday with the great Wade Phillips.
Oh, man.
And the not-so-great D3 are going to join me, too.
You're going to talk a lot of D.
Yeah. You have
Defense.
anything you want me to bring to Simmons? I'm going to see him Sunday, too. We're doing our props.
I'm going to send you a screenshot of the trade machine that you can give to him. Yeah, you can print that out for him and say, this is what Tate said.
Okay, good.
We can make this happen. So,
Very
Sal,
good.
thanks so much. You're the best. And enjoy your down week. Read the book.
Oh, yeah,
Read
that's
the book.
mine.
Yeah,
Okay.
read the book.
Thanks. All right.
Thanks, Sal. We'll be right back after the break with Bryan Curtis. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're here, joined now by the Ringer's very own Bryan Curtis. Curtis, good to see you, man. Long time no see.
Good to see you. We made it to Super Bowl week. Almost.
Almost. We got a week in between. Maybe we start there because you know this. You've covered the Super Bowl. You've been to Radio Row. You know what the sights and the sounds are, the expected sights and sounds. But kind of the week that leads up to the Super Bowl, the dead week, so to speak. What is that preparation like? A lot of people trying to get scheduled or interview scheduled and things like that. Like, what does that look like for a typical media person?
It's all behind the scenes machinations. You're exactly right. Lining up interviews. What feature story am I going to write, and what 5 calls do I need to make? Because once you're on the ground in New Orleans covering this thing, and I don't want to make this sound like a hard job, but once you're on the ground in New Orleans, it's just crazy.
Right.
There's just stuff. There's people coming up to say hi.
Everybody's booked, too.
It's a trade show for journalists, so yeah, you want to get your stuff done now.
Well, one of those guys who's going to be on the ground, Tom Brady, obviously going to be a topic of conversation. You will be covering the Tom Brady experience. But generally speaking, what is the kind of the vibe going into the Super Bowl? It does feel like Tom Brady, we talk about him as like the Raiders kind of, invisible hand behind the scenes. We talk about him as a broadcaster. He's evolved and got better as the season. Like, where are we right now as we look at Tom Brady?
It's a really good question because I think the reviews when they first came out were pretty brutal in a lot of cases. Maybe some lukewarm reviews out there. But I think he's gotten better as an announcer. And that's one thing that I think has kind of stabilized things in Tom Brady land a little bit. The fact that you can watch him do the NFC Championship game the other day, Eagles Commanders, and you're like, this guy's an announcer. He may not be the best announcer in the world yet, but he's seeing things on the field. I thought he saw the field very, very well in that game. The Raiders thing to me is the biggest black hole, if I may make a pun here for you.
Right.
Because we just don't know what he's doing. You know, we have reports, Diana Rossini telling our pal Ryan Russillo about what he's doing, everything there. And he has a chance to explain this during the playoffs. Kevin Burkhardt sets him up. KB, here we go. And he doesn't say anything. And whether he's doing something or not doing something, I think we just need to know a little bit about that.
Yeah.
Because announcers are supposed to tell us stuff. They're not supposed to withhold things from us, and I just find that to be a very weird situation.
But just for the game itself, like, is this a great game to have Tom Brady on the call when you have a Patrick Mahomes who is kind of on the cusp of something we may have never seen before in the game, and obviously riding his own path as one of the greatest quarterbacks ever? It's nice to have the guy who's considered the greatest on the call, right, as it's happening.
Totally, because look, there is going to be a trophy count at some point here when Patrick Mahomes gets old and gray, and he's nowhere close to those things now. We're going to, how many trophies does Tom Brady have versus Patrick Mahomes? And there's going to be a conversation about who's the greatest quarterback of all time. I think we see we're getting there.
Right.
So who would you want on the call except the guy who already has the title? I still remember when Mahomes lost to Brady in the Super Bowl, and Tony Romo was calling that game, and he said something like, "Oh, that's a big one because if you want to catch him, you kind of needed this one, right? You fell 2 behind because you lost 1 and he got 1.
You got the head-to-head loss.
And
right?
and players think about that kind of stuff. They're obviously thinking about that kind of stuff. So to me, to have that little tension in the air that's a good thing.
Let's talk about the three-peat, Chiefs, Eagles. I mean, obviously that's the biggest storyline, but we had this a couple years ago. We kind of ran through those storylines. What's different this time around? Obviously Saquon is a big storyline, but like outside of Saquon, is that really the only one we can focus in on, or is there something else different this time?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I think the three-peat of it is what's interesting, one, because it's never been done in NFL history, and also because things usually just fall apart in some way. And we saw that a little bit with the Chiefs this year. Like, oh, their offense, it doesn't have that same explosiveness. Well, guess what? They won a ton of games. They were the #1 seed, and then they beat their nemesis, they beat the team that they are the nemesis of, the Bills, in the AFC Championship game. So to me, the story is just three-peat or no. Saquon is probably the B story. And once you get to C, I mean, I think you're kind of getting to like Tom Brady calling the game territory, just because we know this matchup from a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. I mean, I could almost argue that Tom Brady could end up being the star of this game at some point, depending
we'll see.
on
Or the GOAT. Either way, GOAT.
It can go one way or the other. Speaking of things that could have gone one way or the other, let's talk about the Cowboys. Jerry made a decision. It was a Friday news dump. You know about this, obviously, in the media space.
Friday night.
Friday night. Yeah, I mean, the dump of all dumps. Brian Schottenheimer, the new head coach of the Cowboys. We saw the press conference. Jerry kind of used that moment to send a message to his haters, to his doubters. Where do you kind of sit right now as you look at where the Cowboys are?
So I think my favorite moment was when Stephen Jones was talking about the championship drought.
Yes.
And he put it in air quotes.
Right.
And I'm like, no. You really haven't won a Super Bowl.
We literally live here, yes.
Or even been to an NFC Championship game since 1996.
Yes.
That's a real thing. That's not fake news. That's not disputed. There's no fact check. That's real. So I think that was my favorite moment of it. It's one of the most surreal things I've ever seen. I felt for my DFW media comrades who were spending 3 days preparing to do emergency pods about Brian Schottenheimer. I mean, is that like, we have to be on red alert for a Brian Schottenheimer news break? I mean, just how insane is that? How awful is that for everybody involved?
Let's talk about the voice of NBC and Amazon. They revealed their new NBA announcers. We got Tirico as the #1 guy at NBC. This is going to be a kind of a nice moment for nostalgia when it comes to NBA fans. What do you think about Tirico?
Totally. He was a voice, back in the ESPN. In the aughts. So it's been a while for him, though he's obviously been in the Olympics and Sunday Night Football. He's had some big innings. It's a great choice to me, and it's the obvious one, and especially if Noah Eagle gets the #2 job, as we all expect. You've got person in his prime, young person who is rapidly coming into his prime, or maybe he's already there in the case of Noah Eagle.
The start of the prime.
Just a great 1-2 punch, and we'll see what they come up with the studio show. But that to me that feels like the NBA on NBC to me.
Yeah.
It feels big time.
It does. And all the graphics and the stuff that they've been putting out already to kind of prime the return to NBA on NBC, it's all been good stuff. On the Amazon side, we got Ian Eagle, father of Noah Eagle, who's going to be there. Kevin Harlan is rumored as well. We also got the studio show, Taylor Rooks, Blake Griffin, Dirk Nowitzki. Pretty good group there for Amazon.
I am. I'm really excited to see what Dirk gives us on television, because he had with the Mavericks a kind of low-key sense of humor that came out a little more each year which he was with the franchise. He's a very funny, approachable guy. To me, there's a little like Pedro Martinez doing baseball pregame with him, just because the way they see the game and the kind of humor they can see in it, but also they have rings, right? So they can they have that sort of gravitas that you want from a pregame guy. I don't know. I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. And Dirk is one of those guys where the inside the NBA is a very domestic show, right? I mean, it's for America, it's for American basketball fans. Dirk can take it into the international space. He's got the respect of those guys and probably has some different conversations with those guys. And like you mentioned with the comedy of Dirk, my favorite quote of his was during the 2011 finals run. They talked about the big three. He said if they were going to make a big three, they would have come and got me. So, he's got a little bit of that too, where you kind of need those jabs to get the, you know what I mean?
The
some
smack
of those.
talk.
Right.
And that's what's worked for inside the NBA. And you can imagine them interviewing a guy courtside, coming back to the studio. You want to hear Dirk mix it up there.
I want to talk about this because celebrity fandom is a big part of the Super Bowl. Taylor Swift, we'll see her everywhere. It led me to a larger question, and I knew you would probably have a smart answer for this, but I wanted to ask, did the NFL steal the celebrity fan from the NBA? We used to see Jack obviously sitting courtside. Now it's box shots. Now we see Taylor Swift. Now we see Bradley Cooper. It does feel like the NFL was in the celebrity world, maybe even more so than the NBA.
I think you're right. And it's funny because it's harder to find celebrities in an NFL game. They're not on the front row unless they got really bad tickets from somebody went to the ticket broker and got the bad seats. So it's harder. But you know what? When we think of those enduring images of Chiefs games, it's Taylor.
Yeah.
It is Caitlin Clark in the booth during the playoffs. It's Bradley Cooper at the Eagles games. Like you are seeing those big names, and yeah, that does feel like it switched places.
Last thing before we go to break, Bryan, you're a star. You are making your big screen debut. Can you give us a little bit of a teaser as we're about to throw to break? What should the people be looking forward to?
Well, there's a movie coming out February 7th.
Yes.
In New York and Los Angeles. I've always wanted to say that. When I'm Ready is coming out, and I'm just I play a voice of a radio DJ in the movie, and this is all real in case people think I'm making this up.
This is 100%
This is the thing. And it was one of those
dulcet tones. Of
and I put on a little top 40 voice. It's a little bit different than my normal voice. It was one of the most surreal experiences of my life. And I've watched this movie in a theater, and that was even crazier.
Right.
And everybody's like, my friend, I was with one of our pals, Alan Siegel from The Ringer, he's like, look at you. This is unbelievable. So I'm still just kind of, anyway. And call my agent if anybody needs any force, please.
So we will not have Bryan Curtis on TV very soon. He is a big movie star. These are how these things go.
I have a writer.
Hopefully you come back to TV. That seems like the journey. You go all the way big picture and you come back to the small time. But we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got more with Bryan Curtis. Welcome back to Thru the Ringer. We're in studio with Bryan Curtis. And Bryan, we talked through all of the Super Bowl, conversations that I'm sure we'll get more and more. You're going to have pieces coming out on theringer.com, so stay tuned as Bryan releases those. But I want to talk about college football, and I want to talk about Arch Manning because you are a Texas guy. Right now, if you go to FanDuel, look at the odds. Texas plus 260 to win the national championship next season. Do you believe in the Arch run? Do you believe that he can go win the national championship? I know it's early, but it does feel like the conversations are picking up right now.
I really do, and it's funny because with college football every year, you're like, who lost a bunch of guys? And the answer now with the transfer portal is everyone.
You're right.
But the answer is also everyone got a bunch of guys. So you look at these rosters, and it's actually really hard because Ohio State's going to lose a lot of players this year, including a quarterback. But you look around, and you're like, well, kind of everybody did. So to me, if Arch Manning is locked in, if he's as good as we think he was in those flashes last year, Texas absolutely can win the national championship.
Yeah.
I'm trying to knock out. We have wood here on the set that I can smash with my fist because I feel I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, you don't want to get ahead of yourself, obviously. If you look at the Heisman race, Arch right now, plus 900 to win the Heisman Trophy. We saw the flashes of Arch. We saw the athleticism. He allegedly ran faster this year, at one point faster than Tyreek Hill has been clocked in an NFL game. So these are all encouraging signs, but encouraging enough to say he is going to win the Heisman Trophy. Can we get there? Or do we still feel like he needs enough starts to get to that point?
Yeah, it's true. I think he can just because, the glamour factor of Arch is something you cannot
We all want it. Everybody wants it to happen.
Oh, my God.
Right?
That's the thing, right? We want the next Manning. Next Manning up.
Right.
Can we go ahead and get a T-shirt
Richard
out?
Linklater is watching and thinking, should I make a movie about this? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So that really helps him. Texas, not that many Heisman winners. Only two in its history, Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams. So it'd be nice to have a third one in there.
Well, and one of the guys who did win the Heisman, Ricky Williams, as you mentioned, that was a Mac Brown. He was a factor in that whole situation, him winning the Heisman coming to Texas. Mac is back. He has left Chapel Hill. He has said he is done. He is now in Austin, Texas. He brought one of Carolina's best defensive tackles, Travis Shaw, to the Texas Longhorns. So with Mac back in the fold for Texas football, he's the last coach to win a national championship. Is this good news?
I know.
Is Mac bringing some good energy into the building?
Is it time for a statue?
Is
it really?
I think that's what Mac is asking.
Yeah, I think he definitely is. He's sizing himself up, just kind of standing outside the stadium. How would this look if there was a pedestal under me?
Yeah, it'd be good. It'd be good. I'm glad to have Mac over there. You and I have a shared bond of enjoying the Mac Brown experience together.
Forever, Tate.
Forever. Let's talk about the national champions. Let's talk about Ohio State. There is a chance they could go back-to-back potentially. We could have 3 straight for the Big Ten. Some people are saying Ohio State will have a chance to do that. But just the fact that the Big Ten was able to win Michigan last year, Ohio State this year, is the narrative. We love talking about narratives. Is the narrative shifting on the Big Ten and their football teams?
I tell you, it is, and I still can't get my mind around it. Because I covered the national championship game, and I'm on the field after the game, and Tate, they have football-shaped confetti, and the streamers are going crazy, and Ryan Day's walking around the field, and I actually almost ran into him. I kind of walked up, and he's being followed around by these cameras, and he had this smile on his face. Like, even he couldn't believe that he won the national championship.
Right.
It was a Mac Brown face, if you will. I'm just like,
Build the statue.
I did this, what happened? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, this is all of us. We can't believe Ryan Day is a national championship winning coach. We can't believe we're talking about the Big Ten is having a little mini dynasty run here, back-to-back. SEC completely shut out, and shut out of the title game, too, we should add. So, yeah, the whole thing was weird. I mean, it all felt like a back to the Midwest moment for America. The Rust Belt is back. Notre Dame and Ohio State, and we were all like, wait, what?
Yeah.
We got here in college football, but that's a reality. I saw Paul Finebaum basically apologizing to America.
A lot of people in the SEC or in the South, they were doing their apology tours after this, and Ryan Day was pre-fired by Ohio State fans, then went to national championship, which is also very entertaining. Herb Street after the game, from a journalist, we got to put our big J pants on here. From a journalistic standpoint, Herb Street showing his emotions after the win. Did you feel like that was like, are there people in the press box who are turning their nose up at such behavior? Like, where do we stand on that, like, in modern times?
Well, if that had been Texas, I would have just been
I know,
I
right?
would have pulling out the hankies and crying and hugging everyone in the press box.
I cried when Carolina beat Coach K,
See, there you go.
Moved with emotions. You couldn't believe it.
I'm actually okay with this because I think people like Herbie and Chris Collinsworth, who was a Bengal his whole career, can call it straight during the game.
Right.
But then
Billis does it.
Yeah, but then after the game, I want to know what this feels like. You are Mr. Ohio State. Like, I want to know what it means. I remember when the Bengals were in the Super Bowl, I was like, I wanted Collinsworth to be like, this is what this would mean to Cincinnati and to this franchise that never won a Super Bowl. Like, that's information. That's interesting. There's an emotional, aspect to that just like fascinates me. So we don't need to hide it for the whole thing. Now, maybe for 3.5 hours we hide it. We put it away during the game, but afterwards, why not?
I thought it was a story in and of itself because of how close he was to Ryan Day and to the players on that team, and that's why the emotions had journalistic value, because he's close to this team and he's letting you know. Right, exactly. So, and the fact that this fan base had turned on him, I mean, there's a lot of layers to the whole thing. So
all the fan bases turned on Herbie.
Everybody
at one point or another.
And I feel Herb Street's been great for so long calling these games. I do feel bad for him, but that's kind of the world we live in today. It goes back and forth, snip and snap. Go listen to Bryan Curtis on the Press Box. It's a great pod. We love listening to it. Brian, where can we find all your amazing work? And then we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day.
Press Box Monday and Thursday, ringer.com for some written stories and maybe a new video coming out about one Tom Brady on the Ringer next week.
We call that a tease in the business. Bryan Curtis is the best. We appreciate you coming on the show, Brian, and we'll talk to you very soon. Thanks
Thank you,
again,
sir.
Man.
Great to see you, Tate.
Of course. There you have it for another edition of Thru the Ringer. Thanks to Cousin Sal, as always, for coming on the show, and thanks to the Ringer's very own Bryan Curtis. Go check out both those guys' podcasts, Against All Odds, The Press Box. They're the best in the business. We appreciate you tuning in to Thru the Ringer, and we will see you next week.